Assalamu alaikum. So I promised to go live today because it's my Oprahversary. So today is my Oprahversary. What is an Oprahversary? An Oprahversary is the anniversary of the day that I sat on Oprah Winfrey's couch and got interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. So that is what an Oprahversary is. So it never gets old because it was an amazing, amazing opportunity for me to share my life and my faith and my entrepreneurial efforts and my business with literally the entire world. It was an amazing opportunity, an opportunity that came about sort of kind of by chance. It wasn't intended, but it also was something that I made effort for. It wasn't kind of like a huge big goal. So one of the things that I wanted to talk about is I'm going to talk about 3 things that I learned about myself and in retrospect from being a guest on the Oprah Winfrey Show. So I'm going to, it's Facebook Live, so I don't even have to make it short, so I can tell you guys the entire story. So let me start off with, in 2007, I decided to open a personal training studio. I had been a personal trainer and I had gone to people's house, been an in-home personal trainer for about, I guess maybe about 3 or 4 years at that point, and I started to, my clientele started to really build up, and so I decided to open a personal training studio. So I opened my studio in March of that year, and in around October, it was about October, I was sitting around and I was, one night, as entrepreneurs do, at 1 o'clock in the morning, coming up with marketing campaigns and reading and things like that. And so as I'm reading and I'm coming up with ideas, I'm reading a book about marketing, right? And in the book, the author was saying, what is it that makes you different? What is it that makes you unique? And don't list your certifications. And he started rattling off different organizations and how many hundreds of thousands of people actually have that certification. So he said having, ACSM certification or AFA certification or this certification, it doesn't make you unique, right? There are 100,000 trainers that actually have that certification. What is it that makes you unique? And so I sat there and I did a little bit of introspection and I said, how many personal trainers in the United States dress like this? Probably not many. I'm an interesting story. Oprah likes interesting stories. I think I'll tell her about myself. So I literally went to her page. At the time, the Oprah Show had a page, and there was a link on the page that said, suggest a story. And I said, I'm a 30-year-old personal trainer in the United States, and what makes me different is that I'm an Orthodox Sunni Muslim and I dress in full Islamic garb. And most people want to know if I take my scarf off when I exercise, but to find that out, you have to have me on the show. So I just sent it off and I decided to go back to the things that I was doing, and I actually really didn't give it a second thought after that. After I sent that message over the next, week or so, I just continued, doing what I do, training and exercising. And I actually kind of forgot that I sent the message. So it was just like a chance, just like, what's the worst thing that can happen? And so that is actually one of the first lessons that I taught myself after I was on the show, is that you have to take chances, right? You have to take chances in life. If you sit back and you think about all of the worst things that could possibly happen, anything that is less than death, we can recover from. So I sent the message off, and I do that often now. Now, after that experience, I often go into ventures, start new businesses, start new projects with the philosophy, take a chance. What's the worst thing that can happen? And so the worst thing did not happen. The worst thing that could happen from sending that message would have been, hey, it got lost in a sea of messages and nobody saw it, and then it would have just been a message in all of her emails, right? But I tongue-in-cheekly say they must wanted to know if I take my scarf off when I exercise, because they called me 9 days later. So 9 days after I sent that message, I get a phone call in the evening time from one of the show researchers, and then a follow-up phone call from one of the producers of the show. And we spoke that evening, and she said to me, well, I will take this back to the other producers, and I will see and we'll see, how it mixes in the show. And so she called me back the next day, which was a Friday. And I remember specifically that it was a Friday because Juma is at 1:15. And with all of my kids, like I got a billion kids, right? I got 4 kids. With my children, I had told them, okay, it's 1 o'clock. Everybody get up and start putting on your coat and shoes. We're getting ready to go to the masjid. And I remember the phone ringing right after I said that, and I picked the phone up, and it was the producer of the show, and she's like, we decided we want to have you on the show and want to know if we can come tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'm like tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, 9 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, okay. And I get off the phone, and I'm like, change of plans, clean up. You got 4 kids, right? They were all little. My house was a mess. So I'm like, change of plans. We're not going to Juba, clean up. The Oprah show's coming. I'm calling everybody, calling my sister, calling my mom, calling my husband. Okay, you got to come home from work early. The Oprah show is coming. They want to feature us, blah, 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 blah. So we were like cleaning up. So the funny thing that happened was, so we're cleaning up, and the kids are like, okay, what do we put stuff, right? So there's clothes, there's, you want your house to be like Oprah show ready. And so there was things that I was like, okay, if you can't find any place to put it, right? I didn't have time to rearrange my house. I was like, just put it in the basement, right? So the kids are like cleaning up, and they're putting stuff in the basement. And then she calls me back a couple of hours later, right? The house is starting to at least look a little organized. Like, I don't have 4 kids running around and homeschooling everybody and trying to run a business. So my life was a little chaotic at the time. And she calls back and she says, well, I'm on your website, and I realized that all of your scarves always match your outfit. So we're going to want to see your closet. And I'm like, oh my God, that means that everything that they're going to come upstairs. And so I'm like, okay, clean up everything upstairs, put it in the basement. So the kids are like, what? And I'm like, so we're trying to clean up. I'm like, okay, I did not expect for them to be like downstairs and upstairs, but apparently they wanted to see everything. So we clean up. It was like really, really crazy. So I'm running around all day, making sure everything is clean, making sure I have my little, I went to IKEA and got some plants to put over here and there and put everything to be show ready. The next morning, exactly at 9 a.m., the producer and the film crew was in front of my house. They came in and they recorded me and my family interacting. They recorded the kids. If you see the show clip, you'll see clips of us praying. They talked to us about how or watched us interact with one another. And then they took me to my fitness studio. I actually had to call a client. Thank you, Teresa, wherever you are now, who agreed to be the client, one of my clients. During the show. She actually had a training appointment that day, and I was like, can you still come to your training appointment, but it's not going to be like a full session, because would you mind being on Oprah? And she's like, sure. So that was awesome. She was a trooper, and so we did like a half a session sort of, and of course I made it up to her later on. And then they sit down and interviewed me for about 4 hours. And that's crazy because I was literally talking and she was asking me questions for about 4 hours, the producer was, and it made a 4-minute clip of my life. So Oprah has 4 hours of interview of me somewhere. we literally filmed from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. all day long, and that was on a Saturday. And then the following Monday, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, they booked up me and my husband tickets to come to Chicago, and we recorded the show on Tuesday morning, which was October 31st. So that's why I celebrate October 31st as one of my 2 Oprahversaries. I have one, meaning the one that I actually recorded the show, and then the second Oprahversary that I recognize is the day the show actually aired. So we go and we record the show, and we went to the hotel. I actually spent the evening touring Chicago. We did a horse ride and some other really fun stuff, had dinner, and then the next morning, which was Tuesday, we went and recorded the show, and I got to sit there and have Oprah ask me about my life, and that was absolutely awesome. So the second thing that I learned in retrospect from being on the Oprah show is just be authentic, right? Be your authentic self. When I remember the morning of the show, I prayed. I made an extra 2 rakats, or 2 units of prayer, for people who are not Muslim, who don't know what that means. And I also made a verbal dua. I just was like, I don't know why I was chosen for this opportunity. And I recognized that it was a huge opportunity, particularly where we were in America. It was after 9/11. Islam was under scrutiny. People were really looking at Muslims and had views of them that were not really what Islam was, and it was very rare to have a Muslim be authentically themselves, and them actually showing their actual life, which is, like everybody else's. And so I remember praying that morning and asking Allah to guide my tongue. I remembered the prayer of Moses, when God asked him to speak to Pharaoh, and I'm not saying that Oprah is Pharaoh, so don't say that. But when he had to speak, and he was apprehensive as to why he was the one that was chosen, I remembered that prayer. And I asked God to guide my tongue. That was the first thing. And I also really did not know why I was given that opportunity. And so I didn't really put any goals on it. I said, just use me in the way that you feel that I will be of benefit, right? That was my prayer. Just use me in a way that I will be of benefit. And I didn't because I really didn't know what to expect. So I sat on the couch, and when it was my turn to be interviewed, so if you haven't seen the entire show, I'll give you a little synopsis. The show was called 30-something in America, and what they did was they profiled women all throughout America who were in their 30s and what their lives are like. I wasn't the only guest. There was, I believe, 4 segments of the show, and it was very diverse. And there was, the first segment was 3 women in their 30s who were looking for love, right? So one woman was African American, another was Jewish, another was white, and they all had different issues, from having children and having a hard time finding somebody because they had kids and that was a stigma, wanting to have children and thinking about artificial insemination because they had not been married by the time they were, this woman, I believe, was in her late 30s and she wanted to have a baby. There was a Christian mom who homeschooled, and she was a mom of 7 who homeschooled. There is a Hispanic newspaper editor who was the who ran a paper in another part of the country. And then there was also me, and who was the job you'd never expect, because I was a Muslim hijabi personal trainer. And it's really funny because I didn't know how they would categorize me on the show. So I knew that the day before the show, they do a preview of the show on the next day. And when so I worked during that time, at 4 o'clock or a 4:45 or whatever, when they show the preview, I was at work. And I didn't have a TV in my studio, and so I ran next door to the shop next door and said, "Can I like watch your TV? Can you turn it to Oprah so I could just see the preview?" And so I was like, it got to a point where I knew they were gonna show me, and then they go, "And the job you'd never expect." And they show me walking into my studio, but my whole face and hijab and everything is blurred out. They didn't want people to know that like I was Muslim and I was the surprise of the show. And I'm like, that's me. I promise that was me. So it was actually kind of funny because my neighbor's looking at me like, okay. I'm like, really? I'm going to be in the show tomorrow. So it was fun. So, sitting on her couch, and if you see the interview, and one, she is the queen of talk because she makes you feel really, really comfortable. She's a very down-to-earth person. People often ask me like, "Oh, what is she like?" The personality that she has on TV is really her personality, and that was also a part of my lesson of being authentic. I really believe that she is an authentic person, and I sat there and I just answered questions. A lot of people say, "Oh, you did not look nervous." No, I was not nervous. So obviously that was the biggest stage that I've ever been on. Or in the most exposure, and I wasn't really nervous because one reason why I wasn't nervous is because I really went with the mentality that, whatever happened is going to be the will of God, and it is, I'm just going to be who I am, and I'm just going to explain my beliefs. I don't believe that we should ever apologize for our truth. Other people don't have to agree with us. Other people don't have to side with us. They don't even have to like it. But that is the beautiful thing about being an individual. That you have your own truth, and as long as you live it with integrity and confidence and good intentions, then you can stand in your own truth with being unapologetic. So it was a really good interview. She asked me about everything from my Islamic beliefs to how clients respond to me when they meet me and I'm Muslim, because I had great in-home personal training clients. So here is like a little background on one of the jokes that we laughed about during the show was that when I did in-home personal training, that's how I started as a personal trainer. I would go to women's houses and we would exercise right there in their home. Didn't matter if they had equipment or didn't have equipment. I could put together a workout. As long as you had a living room with a 6 foot by 6 foot space, I can give you a great workout. And my clients were awesome. I began my clientele with people referring me. All of my clients were by referrals. And none of them were Muslim. My very first client was a Muslim. She was also my hairdresser. And then everything started from there. And then she would refer me to clients, and the rest of them were not Muslim. And they would tell their friends about me. They would tell their friends how much weight they lost, how much fun they have. They would even tell them that I was African American. But for some reason, they would never tell their friends that I was Muslim. I don't know if they did it because they just felt like it was insignificant, or they didn't want to seem like it was a big thing, what was awesome, so they would never tell. So sometimes when I knock on people's door, they're just like, "Hello?" And I'm like, "Hi." We spoke on the phone because I would call them first. And so after the first, I would say dozen or so clients, and I caught on. It took me a while to catch on that people were not expecting me to be Muslim in a hijab coming to their house as a personal trainer. And so once I caught on, what I would do is when I make the appointment with people over the phone, so this was before the internet, was a main thing, or before Facebook even existed, or Instagram, or any of the social medias. So it's not like they could Google me and find out who I was. Now everybody can Google you, and so there's no surprises, right? But what I would do is I would end the conversation with, "Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you and having our first session. And just so you know, you'll know who I am because I'm Muslim and I wear a headscarf." And so that's how I would end our phone calls when I made the appointment, so that people would not be so surprised when they saw me. Because, as we talked on the phone and they would feel comfortable with me, I just wanted to make sure that, they had a day or two to imagine the idea of being trained by a hijabi Muslim personal trainer. So, that's a little history behind a little joke you can watch on the show. When I finished the show, so when we finished recording the show, we did have an opportunity to go backstage and take pictures and talk with her. So the picture that you see on my profile pic or inside of in the timeline, that's one of the pictures that we took backstage, and it was really interesting. So the third thing that I would say, so the first thing that I learned from being on the show is that take chances. Don't be afraid to take chances. The second thing that I learned, in retrospect, one of the many things is to be authentic, be your authentic self. And the third thing that I would mention that I learned, and I love this lesson because it's something that I learned being on Oprah, and it's actually something that President Obama actually told me when I had dinner with him. You surround yourself with good people. Oprah is not the queen by herself. She has an amazing team. I learned the lesson of how teamwork can build an empire by just watching. So being a part of the show and the production process wasn't just about me kind of like just letting everything happen. I'm a very observant person. And I realized from that show that she has a vision, and she has people around her that works for her that understands her vision and is committed to her vision. So her team did an amazing job putting together a show that was full of diversity, that showed everyone in their authentic light, right? So it wasn't as if they were trying to repeat our stories or the similarities between us. They really allowed people to be authentic in their own right. So I'm sure that out of the dozen or so Muslim women that they spoke to before me, Oprah didn't handpick me to be on the show, right? I'm pretty sure of that. But her team that did choose me, they understood the vision that she's trying to produce. So now as a serial entrepreneur and a person that's building myself, I understand how important it is to, one, understand your purpose, to convey that purpose and understanding to your team, whether it be your secretary or your video editor or whoever you're working with, whoever's in that team that you have. And that actually extends not just if you are a business owner, but it also extends to your family, right? Having a family purpose. A while ago, my husband and I, we actually put together a family mission statement, and we sat down with the kids and said, this is our family mission statement. So as my kids talk about what they want to be when they grow up, are we staying true to our mission, right? This is what we decided that our mission is going to be and what we're going to try to achieve while we have been given an opportunity in this world to achieve it. So it goes way beyond just if you're in business. So every year, on October 21st, so October 31st is when the show was recorded, but it wasn't aired until January 25th the following year. So on January 25th, I might come back on and tell you 3 other lessons that I learned. Maybe, we'll see. Because I continue on, and I recognize, so the show was 30 something in America. I am no longer 30. So the show was 11 years ago, so I am 41, and I do not have a problem when people ask me my age. I'm okay with that, because I believe with age come wisdom and experience, and we should respect that. And so because I respect those who are older than me, I'm okay with aging quite gracefully. So it was a while ago. And my kids are all much older now. My kids are 23, 21, 19, and 17 now. And they are still awesome kids. And I still have an awesome husband. And we are just doing what we do in the world. So I hope you like my little story about the experience that I learned from being on the Oprah Show. One of the other things that I'll do is I'll actually come on, probably on that, maybe on the anniversary actually just passed, and I'll talk about what I learned from having dinner with President Barack Obama. And those were some really awe-inspiring and life lessons from that experience as well. So that is what I have to talk to you about today. If you have any questions or comments, you can put them below and I will try to come back. And if you thought this video was interesting or fun, feel free to share it. It's an interesting story, and I hope that you have an awesome day and you continue to go forth fearlessly, confidently, and being your authentic self. All right? Assalamu alaikum. Oh, wait a minute. I have a question. I was going to log off. Nahid says, am I still working? So I have since closed my fitness studio, and I do online coaching. I both do, but I do have a few in-home personal training clients and boot camp. So I don't have a physical location anymore, generally because, hey, the internet and Facebook came about and I can do everything online. So that is that is probably 90% of my business now is my online coaching, and I have several programs, which I will post at the bottom of this. You can actually go to my 21dayreset.com and get information there, and fitmuslimah.com for our blog. And make sure you sign up for the newsletter, because I got some awesome stuff that's happening in the next few months. See, do I have any more questions? Hi, Janice. Alhamdulillah, thank you. Nueri, thank you. Masuma, thank you very much. Maybe one day you're going to have to come to my events one day so that I can train you. Assalamu alaikum, Sajid. It's good to see you again. I just met Sajid the other day at a conference. Thank you, Nathima. Zainab, thank you for watching. BB, you can always go back and watch the beginning BB Watts. Alhamdulillah, Michael, Adui, Jimmy, Tuma, Anna, Barbie, Fathia, Hassan, Assalamu alaikum, hello to everyone who logged on. Awesome. Master Sajid said, do I come to Chicago? So I come when I am invited so far. So I will come. So often I'm invited to speak in different places. And when I am, I generally post it on this page. So you can always come here to find out where I will be next. So I do speaking and traveling, boot camps, and all that kind of great stuff. And you can email me at info@fitmuslimah.com and find me everywhere, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, @fitmuslimah. Okay? Pennsylvania, all right. Y'all putting all these cities out here. I'm waiting for the invite. Send me an email. All right? All right, so have a great rest of your day. Take it on with confidence, fearlessness, and authenticity. Assalamu alaikum.